Good evening, humans of Earth. It's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us, episode 98. Yes, it is episode 98. And thanks for joining me for a couple minutes here this evening as we talk about marketing. How do the rest of us compete in a day and age where the rich get richer, the poor get poorer in the land of marketing, right? Where those who have big teams, big budgets, they understand all the technology of it all, seem to be grabbing their unfair share, which is good for them. Good job, you people. But what about the rest of us? Do we have an opportunity to compete? Can we stay in the game? I think we can. And I think we use our humanity. We have to use our humanity to compete. That's how we compete, right? That's how we get our unfair share. So, that being said, in light of our humanity and that being how we compete, then here's the deal. You have to go first. You go first. You have to lead in transparency, because transparency, authenticity, humanity, we're all waiting for you to make the first move. Nobody wants, I don't know that anybody wants to be transparent, although I'll tell you in all the transparent posts I've been doing, it does feel freeing, right? It's very freeing to be transparent, to be vulnerable, to throw yourself under the bus, right? If you haven't tried it yet, try it. Because the minute you do it, you realize nobody can say something to you that you haven't already said about yourself. That's the freeing part, right? But you have to go first, because the rest of us aren't going to do it until you do it. Right? So think about your business for a minute. You have a group of people that you want to lead. You have a group of people that you're trying to inspire to whatever life it is that they want to live, and however your product or service helps them get there. But that's the thing about transformation. Like when you're talking to people who have a particular vision of the life they want, and then they're stuck in the particular version of life that they've created, it's going to require a shift in who they're being in order to get to the new reality. You can't get to where you want to go with the energy from where you are. And so it requires that you have a shift in energy. And so if those people are going to shift in their energy, it's going to require them to look in their shadow. It's going to require them to look at where they're stuck beyond the tools and the tactics and all the crap that most people serve up. We, the rest of us, can actually help them make that transformation by helping them look deeper than anybody else is helping them look. But in order for them to be willing and courageous to go look in those places in their life to make that transformation, to make that leap over the gap, right? They're going to want to know, how do we do it? Like, I'm scared to do it, but the minute that you come out and you go first, you throw yourself under the bus, show me that you're not perfect, then it gives me courage to realize that I'm not perfect. This is marketing for us today. For you and me, for the rest of us, this is how we need to go out and start earning attention. And moreover, not just attention, but from there, earning trust. Because once we earn trust, then we actually can help people cross that gap from where they are to where they want to be. But you have to go first. And so here's how we do that. So that being the case, how do we do that? I will tell you very tactically for me, the shift that I've made is the first thought that comes to mind when I'm ready to create a post, whether it's I'm writing a post or I'm doing a video, the first thought that comes to mind is the concept or the idea. And a year ago, I would lead with that. I would start in and just make some type of a intellectual comment, some type of philosophical comment. And now I realize in order for me to help you access what I'm trying to say, it actually helps for me to throw myself under the bus. If you saw my post today, my written post today on Facebook. In fact, sometimes I actually use the written post in the morning is when I'll typically do my written post in the morning. And that written post actually often inspires my video. So if we're talking about how do we be real? How do we lead in transparency? How do we go first? Well, for me, it helps to write out my thoughts and then I go into a video. Now, beyond that, like I was saying, a year ago, I used to write from a very philosophical place. I still write that way, I believe, in the second half of my post, but I'm now adding in a personal story on the front end of my content. So if you saw my post today, my written post today, it started with, I'm a loser. I'm a loser. And then I went on to tell you that that was a story I had as a kid. And why that story was there for me, and then how I was able to move, or how we can move through those stories to a place where our stories actually serve the people we're trying to help, right? This is how we start to go first. You go first by sharing where you suck, and then that helps us be comfortable with where we suck. This is how we do marketing. What I'm noticing is that, this is not for all of you, this is for some of you, but we can all level up in some areas, yes? What I'm noticing is that some are still sharing from third person, like you or we, but they're not throwing themselves under the bus. Here's my advice for you. I want you to start speaking in first person. At least the first half of your post, I want you to speak in first person. I need to, listen, as your audience, I need to know if you're trying to always just give me advice, or where do you get off giving me this advice? What life experience do you have that makes you credible to give me this advice? And that happens from you being transparent and vulnerable about where you stumbled in life and the lesson that it taught you. Like, look, the reason you have the philosophical approach to life you do is because life taught you something. So take us to that story. Bring us to the part where you didn't have it figured out. Tell us that part first, because now I've got buy-in with you. Now I'm bought into you. Because I don't think you're pretentious, because I don't think you're a know-it-all, because I think you're being generous in your honest sharing. And then from there, you can bridge to the lesson, right? But start first with where you messed up. And then what was the lesson that you learned? And then what does it have to do with me? Got it? Where did you mess up? What was the lesson that it taught you? And then what does that have to do with me? 3 steps. Where did you mess up? What was the lesson in it for you? What does that have to do with me? Okay, I've given that to you 3 times now. So that is where I want you to go practice in your marketing now, is to start throwing yourself under the bus first. Got it? You start with where you don't have it figured out. You go first and we will follow, okay? If you don't go first, what happens is, if you just come from you knowing a bunch of answers, then we sit back over here, we don't really give you our full selves. And you want people to give you their full self when they work with you, because if you don't, then you don't get the whole truth. You get people that hold things back, and then that makes a difficult client relationship. But when you're transparent, people feel from the first time they meet you that they can be transparent as well. Okay? All right, that's it tonight, gang, for this episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. If you'd like to learn a more systematic way to be this way in marketing, you can check out my free course called Marketing for the Rest of Us, the course. You can go to groundswellmethod.com and get that started tonight. It's 5 videos over 90 minutes. And again, you can start that tonight. Thanks for hanging out with me for a couple minutes in your evening. We'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us.